Alrighty, good morning everybody. It's Monday, April 25th, 2022, the last week of the month of April. We're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. I am running just a little bit late this morning. So let's go up to our ultra high time frames. There's really not much to add to the picture here because look at what we've done. Just this is a 4-hour chart I have up. We were trading down around 41, say 20 to 4280, 4300 here back at the end of February and the beginning of March. So what all we've done is kind of bounce out of there and come right back to where we were before, right? So looking up to the quarterly chart, nothing has changed there. We've just kind of pushed up and came right back down to where this quarterly bar opened. So nothing really to say there other than the fact that it's looking pretty bearish, right? We've got a huge wick to the upside, and if we continue to sell off here, we could have a nice uh, bearish reversal bar going on up there. So that's really all I can say up here on the quarterly. And then on our monthly chart, obviously, it looks like we got the attempt by the bulls to break out last month, and now this month we've gone ahead and retraced all the bullish action that we got out of last month's bar there. Think that's basically it. There's really not much going on up on these higher time frames right now. On the weekly, kind of similar to like what we had about a week or two ago, a potential bullish divergence off the low. We can't really say definitively that we do have something bullish there just yet, but the potential bullish signal is setting up. So we do have that on the weekly, which I guess is slightly new information. But we do have to keep in mind that this is a brand new weekly bar and it's got 5 days of price action before it closes. So this picture is most definitely going to change, right? So that's basically it on our higher time frames. I know on Mondays we like to come in and kind of scrutinize that stuff and look for some new information. This week there's still really nothing new to add to the picture. So let's go down into our daily chart here. Obviously, the last few days have been very bearish here. This morning, I don't really have anything really to add to the picture here on the daily chart either. Don't really see any setups as far as divergence goes. And we've basically gone ahead and retraced this whole leg by way more than 75% now. So we don't really need to look at the retracements necessarily, but we do want to consider the retracement back up if we do get a nice bullish cooperation this morning. So just keep in mind, I do have that down on the shorter time frame, so we'll look at that. But from the daily perspective, obviously looking pretty red and almost down to 80-90% retracement of all this price action ever since we bounced out back at the beginning of March. So let's go into our intraday timeframes and let's start talking about all the levels that we want to be aware of for the morning. Real quick from the 4-hour perspective, we did go ahead and get through our major structure zone around 42.55 and now or 42.54.50, and now we've made it down basically almost to the next major structure zone down around 41.97. Let me see if I have. So we don't have a major structure zone. We have a cluster of minor zones, and then we're going to be down to the next major zone down at 41.42. Let me go back here to the 4-hour. I want to talk about the retracement back up. So if the bulls do get some strength here in the next few hours and they hold the low of the overnight session and start pushing higher, we do have a good confluence with the retracement levels of this specific leg here from the high we made a couple days ago, just before the sell-off, all the way down to where we are now. If we draw the fib up, you see the 38 lines up in this area where there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about on the hourly chart. The 50% also coming right up into this major swing here, as well as some other interesting things in that area. And then the 61.8 is all the way back up into, again, this nice confluence with some major structure zones. So let's take a look here on the hourly chart, and we can look at all the major and minor levels we want to be aware of this morning. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's zoom in. Right now, we're kind of sitting right around 4240, the major structure zone down here. We did come right into it and get a nice bounce out in the overnight session yesterday and have just kind of been chopping around right around that area. So if the bulls are strong this morning and we can push up through the highs of the Globex session here, which happened to be just around 42.67 quarter here, somewhere right around there. If bulls do end up pushing through, we have contention somewhere around 42.84, 43.06, and the major area that I'm really looking at here, if we can zoom in a little bit, is 50% of Friday's price action up there at 43.20 quarter, 43.20 half. We do have a major swing that also lines up almost perfectly with that level, and our major 43.24 half zone is right there. Remember that was a really strong support and resistance level going back to basically February and March of this year. So getting back up into there is probably going to be trouble for the bulls. And then a little bit through that zone, we come right into the 38% retracement there at 43.29 half. So be aware of that pocket in there. I do expect there to be a lot of trouble for the bulls if they get up there, and if they have the strength to go ahead and break through there, then we have our 48 to 50 level that we were watching as potential support as the market sold off. And then we're into this next major swing up here at 43.55 half. If those levels do not hold, we're right to the 50% retracement of the whole sell-off, and that would bring us right into the next major swing and our next minor eye level somewhere between 61 and 63 here. So this major area you see shadowed in here, that is really what I'm targeting to the upside if the bulls are strong, and then I would leave a runner on for a push up into this 43.60 area, just keeping in mind that 43.55 half might be a little bit of trouble. Any further than that, it's right up into the high of Friday and the next major structure zone at 43.97, which happens to be the 61.8 retracement of the whole sell-off. So these three pockets, not only are they the retracement levels, but they line up with all the important levels that we want to be aware of this morning. So be aware of that stuff. And then if the bulls continue to rip higher, of course, 44.15 area, 44.31, and then we have this major, well, 44.31 happens to be a good swing that I want to consider. And then from there, the swing up to 44 half, and then 44.54 again. So that's what we're looking at up above us if there is some type of major bullish push this morning. Again, who knows what's going to happen next here, but we do have everything lined up in case the bulls do get strength this morning. On the flip side of things, if the bulls do not make it through some of these levels I just mentioned, and we do end up getting down and we stay below the previous daily low, we stay below the orange power level and our major eye level here at 42.40, then it's right down into, this is one thing that I don't want to ignore. And so let me zoom out and show you. If we go all the way back to the major swings that we made here back at the end of February and beginning of March, as we trekked out of here, we do have technically a trend line coming up across the two major lows here. And if we follow it across, it's very close to where we're pulling back to right now. So for whatever it's worth, we do have that major trend line coming across right over there. So if the bears are strong this morning and we get below the orange power level, I'd be targeting down to the low of the overnight session down here around 42.18, and then we have our minor eye level at 13, 4200, and 41.89. And all this little tight pocket of minor eye levels is exactly where we have that potential trend line support. So just be aware of that as we come down. Remember, this is it's a slope that's slowly changing. So depending on how many bars we have before we get down here, this level could change by a few ticks, a few points as we move forward. Any deeper from there, and let me zoom out again, we've got this major high that we haven't come back to test. We did come right into this one and actually get a nice support back at the end of, I believe on Friday, but they didn't end up holding from there. They continued chugging through. If we come down through that zone we just mentioned, that major swing high is down here, and I should probably mark it on the chart. Let me get the actual number, 4182.75. So I'm going to throw a dotted line across there, just so I'm aware on my shorter time frames, if we get down there, that we're right into that swing. So lock it, put it on all the charts. And you can see I kind of highlighted that little pocket there of high. So if we go back and we look at this previous resistance area, it's a little pocket from about 77 up to that high at 82 or 83. So that would be an area I'd be looking for a target to the downside in case we do get a bounce out of there. And once that breaks, I think there are probably some little minor things down within there, but to me it looks like a nice clean shot right down to our next major level at 41.42. So if we get through that swing at 83 to 77, I would expect there to be a push to 42. I don't really see much else in the way. And that would be another 100 points down. Any further than that, everything's basically laid out here. We've got 41.08, we've got 40.80, 40.42, 40.23, and then right into this 4,000 area. And this 4,000 area, we've got a level, I think, right at 4,005. We've got a level at 4,004, and then down at 39.97. These were marked based on some important price action back from, who knows, months or maybe years ago now. So just be aware that we do have, what's the actual number? 4,005 fifth half, 4,004. So that's kind of that general major eye level support level. And then if that breaks, that 39.97 could be the level. So be aware of that. That's going to be another 150 points down, I believe. Another 250 points down. And so that's what we have coming into this week. The larger major levels are really what I'm going to be focusing on, but you can't forget that we do have some minor eye levels and some swings in the way before we get to some of these levels. And I think that's basically it to start the week off. I wish there was some better data and information to give us on the higher time frames, but there just isn't. So that's just how it is. And I think that kind of lays things out here this morning. Remember that we don't know what's going to happen next. If I look at that, we do have some arguments for the bulls off the overnight low. So the daily maybe no signal, but the 4-hour and the hourly both have a nice clear bullish divergence from the overnight low here. So if the bears cannot break the market down below that level, or if we come down and we test it in some regard, whether we bounce in front of it, we bounce to the tick, or we bounce just a little bit lower, and we have a nice signal there, that could mean we're going to be coming back up to check out some prices up top. That's just one potential scenario, but I do want you guys to be aware that with a 4-hour and an hourly bullish signal, it could lead to a pretty significant push if there's going to be one. Now look, you can see there was a significant 1-hour signal here that only really went about 30 points, right, or 20 points. And then this bullish signal here technically only made it about, what, 25, 30 points so far. So just because the signal's there doesn't mean it has to go for a major move, but when they do end up following through, they typically do lead. Look at the bearish signal that we got on Friday off the high. So on Friday morning, when we pushed up to the high of the morning there at when the market opened, actually it was just a little bit after the market opened, we already had a nice clear bearish signal on our 60-minute chart. That led to this whole sell-off here. So that's what I'm saying here this morning. you never know, with that bullish signal on the higher time frames, could lead to this breakout to come test the levels that we talked about up above. And then if it doesn't hold, then that opens us up for everything that we have below. So that's all I got for you this morning. Enjoy. Have a great week. We'll be back here on Thursday morning to do another pre-market. As usual, if you want to join us in the trade room, send me a message. We'll get you the information on that. So have a great morning. We'll see you on Thursday.